I F32 want to break up with my boyfriend M54 for a younger guy. For the sake of protecting both our identities, I'll refer to my boyfriend as John, not his real name. John and I met at work. He was my office manager for several years. About 3 years ago, I went through a really rough breakup with my ex, and my mental state was very poor. John could see how upset I was at work, even though I did my best to leave it at home. I didn't really want to be the latest office gossip, so when he started offering his office for me to work in private, I was super grateful. Sometimes he would also be there, but he was often needed elsewhere, so I wasn't too concerned about the other type of gossip forming. Over time, John and I grew a close bond, and after a few months we started going out for drinks and food. I guess you could say we began dating. The age thing was always in the back of my mind, but those first few months were really good, so I didn't think too much of it. He was kind, funny, caring, and just seemed like a really great guy. After several months of dating, John made the decision to transfer offices to avoid any conflict of interest or potential problems with the company. Not long after, we moved in together. That's when the problems started to reveal themselves. At first, it was small, stupid things like he'd insist I stop watching my favorite TV shows because they were childish and stupid. I would laugh and say he didn't get it because he's old, and we'd make a joke of it. The thing is, though, he wasn't joking. This became a constant thing, and it began to weigh on me until I decided to just stop watching. Next up was my clothing choices. He accused me of dressing like I was in my 20s, like I was wanting to attract a young guy. So I started dressing older and more appropriately. He started making me feel bad about my friends, accusing them of being childish and boring. He would go out of his way to ask them questions about philosophy and politics, and then berate them for not knowing the answers. My friends confessed they didn't like being around him because he made them feel belittled, which is exactly how he often makes me feel. I hardly see them anymore, but I don't blame them for wanting to distance themselves. I used to have a lot of independence in my life, hobbies, friends, and fun. Now it seems all I ever really do is what John wants to do, most of which are things I find absolutely mind-numbingly dull. Whenever I push back and try to do what I want, he'll shut me down, making me feel tiny and stupid for suggesting it, often using his age as a way to say, "I know better than you." And that's been my life for the past couple of years up until recently. Enter Mark, again, not his real name, the new guy at work who's incredibly fun to be around. He has amazing energy, charisma, and bundles of charm. He and I get on like a house on fire. We share a lot of the same hobbies. He's only a couple of years older than me, and he makes me laugh in ways I haven't laughed since I was a kid. The kind of goofy, uncontrollable laughter that makes your sides hurt. I find myself thinking about Mark a lot. I look forward to going to work to hang out with him. I get butterflies in my belly when I'm around him, and I feel a genuine warmth when I'm with him. To be clear, nothing romantic has happened between Mark and me, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't want it to. John was there for me when I really needed someone. Maybe I'm the problem for not strongly advocating for myself? I've always been a people pleaser. I can't even tell what's real anymore. If I'm being selfish or childish, or getting swept up in the fantasy of it all. I could really use some advice here. Edit. Thank you for all your advice. I realize now that my problems with codependency and the fear of being alone pushes me into these unhealthy situations. I will be ending my relationship with John, but Mark and I will remain nothing more than colleagues and friends for the foreseeable. I need to learn how to be comfortable being on my own and rediscover myself before I consider entering any new relationship. You're repeating the same behavior. Break up with John. Get therapy. Learn to live without a man for 5 minutes. Good grief. Okay, 1. You can break up with anyone at any point for any reason. You do not need his or anyone else's permission to leave. 2. You can always leave a situation that makes you uncomfortable. You do not have to stay just because someone else wants you to. 3. This relationship is toxic AF. There is a reason you should date people your own age, and you are starting to see it. He is highly controlling. 4. You seriously need to be single for a while. Learn to be comfortable and strong on your own. 5. Don't date people at work. Stop pursuing your coworkers. End things with John, not because he's older but because he treats you poorly. Don't jump into another relationship. There are billions of available men on the planet. Give yourself time to pick up the pieces before creating another unfulfilling situation. Don't break up with him for a younger guy. Don't break up with him for any guy. Break up with him because he's a pretentious, controlling dick. Have you ever heard the phrase, don't shit where you eat? Don't date coworkers. You need to be single and have some self-love, because you're just going to keep repeating this cycle. Do you want to risk your career? Because that's exactly what you've been doing. You need to exit your relationship regardless of the Mark situation. I'm all for you getting into an age-equivalent relationship, and I can see how the contrast with John makes Mark such a standout, but it would really be beneficial to spend some time alone, figuring out who you are outside of a relationship. Have some fun and all, but also find your voice and footing in the world without relying on how the next guy is rescuing you from the previous one. I, 30F, am planning a drastic breakup with fiancé, 39M. Hi all. This is an abridged version. I've, 30F, been with my fiancé, 39M, for 4.5 years, and the last year has been bad. We've lived together for around 3 years. We barely talk, he is not interested in me, we haven't had sex this year, we don't sleep together, etc. You get the picture. We both work full-time, earn similar money, but I do 90% of the house chores. He also has quite bad anger issues that got worse in the past year, lots of yelling, accusations, etc. I stopped engaging some time ago, but it makes no difference. When angry, he calls me names, say borderline threatening things, gets in my face and scream at me. Recently I went to stay with my parents for 2 weeks, and they were really worried about my state. I looked tired, depleted, gray and seemed depressed, still do. It was a wake-up call being around people who care about me. I decided to leave him. However, I am afraid of his reaction. So together with my parents, my mom's first marriage was to a similar man who was very explosive. We decided to move me out while he is away and later explain it to him via phone call or suggest a meeting in a public space. So now this is supposed to happen this weekend. I am battling a lot of guilt, but I know this is the right thing. To preface your questions, we tried couples therapy, I tried reconnecting, etc. Several people suggested anger management sessions for him as well. I feel myself losing myself. I barely have time to relax between work, house chores, etc., mostly cleaning after him, and being told I'm not doing anything. The question is, how does one deal with the guilt of leaving, especially in such a cowardly way? Can I leave a letter? Text him? My heart sinks when I imagine him coming to a half-empty house. But I do not see any other way. I have my parents with me, and they will stay with me in my new place for as long as needed. My friends are really supportive. I know once I'm out and I have the conversation with him, I'm going to be fine. Thanks for reading. You will definitely feel some guilt about the breakup because you are a fundamentally good person. The breakup needs to happen, and it is overdue. Some points to consider. Clear is kind. Trying to soften the blow often just makes things less clear. Closure is not real. Over time things will improve, but closure is a false goal. Lots of manipulation and half-truths just extend the breakup. I'm a retired doctor. We try to avoid amputating your toe, then your foot, then your leg below the knee, and then your leg above the knee. A breakup should be similar. Don't do 5 surgeries, where one would be better. I'm sorry you feel guilt about leaving in a cowardly way, when the reality is you're doing that to ensure your safety. I think you should see a therapist to find out why you don't value yourself, learn why you put up with this for so long, and ensure you never put up with this treatment again. P.S. He will demand to talk to you for closure. That's just because he wants to manipulate you into getting back together with him, because he will miss his maid. Don't fall for that, or any promises to change. He has shown you who he is. Take pics of the rooms before you leave. He might try to claim that you trashed the place. Any woman who works, does 90% of the household chores, and isn't having sex is single anyway. Kick him to the curb and let him clean up after himself. Many men just look for someone to clean and cook while they cat around somewhere else. Cake and eat it too. If it's a consolation, I'm pretty sure he doesn't feel any guilt about the way he mistreated you. It's far better for you to put yourself first and be safe than it is to worry about his feelings. Imagine being him, saying countless horrific things to you, threatening you, causing you to fear for your safety, expecting you to clean up after him. Do you think he feels guilty? He's never felt guilty enough to change, right? It sounds like you've got a huge heart, but he doesn't have remorse for the way he's treated you. There is no need to feel remorseful for loving yourself and wanting the best for yourself. My 28 female, best friend of 10 plus years, 33 female, cut me off completely. How do I process this? I'm struggling to process something that's completely blindsided me. My best friend, 33 female F, and I, 28F, have been inseparable for over 10 years. She was my maid of honor less than a year ago. Everything seemed normal. She was amazing that weekend, and just a month ago she and her husband stayed with my husband and me for a visit. She talked about upcoming trips, their dogs, and house projects. 2 weeks later, she started acting off. I offered to fly out, then gave her space. Out of nowhere, her family called saying she'd filed for divorce and asked if I knew anything. Her husband and family were totally blindsided and worried she was having some kind of mental health crisis. That night, she texted me. If anyone reaches out, no response. I'll call you to explain. I had already talked to her family by then. When she called later, she said their visit to me and my husband was their last shot. I was stunned. None of this had ever come up. I told her I loved her and just wanted her to be happy. I understand divorce is very personal, but we share everything together that it seemed odd to not mention anything about it to me in any capacity. After that, I sent one short love you text. She deleted me from Find My Friends and social media, changed her number, and cut off mutual friends and some family too. Then this week, I got a formal email from her titled harassment warning. It said she doesn't owe anyone an explanation, that this is a pivotal step toward her happiness, and that any further contact will be treated as harassment. It ended with please do not reply. I'm not sure who, if anyone, else got this. Her husband is in a dark place. He said she's still talking to a few acquaintances. She is talking a lot to a much older life coach type friend who's telling her things like, "You're young, live your life, be selfish." Her family thinks she's involved in a cult. I'm confused. It's surreal to go from daily best friends to total silence. What are healthy ways to process this? Do I expect to not hear from her again? It feels like a movie. Too long did not read. My best friend of 10 years suddenly filed for divorce, cut off everyone, and sent a no-contact email calling further messages harassment. I'm shocked and have no idea how to process it or if she's okay. Her behavior does suggest she's got involved with something shady. Cult, drugs, affair. Sounds like only she knows. Until you know more about what's going on, it's hard to know if you can help her. Be patient and wait for more information. At the end of the day, she may not want any help, and you may have to come to terms with that. I think your friends joined a cult. Cutting out all of her loved ones, plus this older life coach, reads cult to me. Check The Bite Model by Steve Hassan. I think he has some tools to navigate when people join cults. One classic move: it's antagonize family and friends of the victim and make a we versus them narrative. Sounds very culty. Weird and scary, but unfortunately you've done all you can do. Give yourself the space to grieve this because it is undeniably hard. That harassment email you got sounds very culty to me. I'm so sorry you're going through this. My F48, husband 42M, and I have totally different lives now. My husband travels a lot for work. Like 2 to 3 weeks of the month, he is out of state. I am a stay-at-home mom. With a severely autistic son, level 3, significant outside support need. Think Arnie Grape and Rain Man as opposed to Abed and Sheldon. It is causing a lot of friction in my marriage. When he's home, he is completely involved, and we share almost all the responsibilities. I have no complaints when my husband is actually here. It's when he's gone and when he comes home I'm struggling with. Caring for our son alone for week stretches at a time, for half the month, is incredibly stressful. I feel isolated, exhausted, and emotionally battered. We don't have a ton of money, and I decided I'd rather not have to worry about housekeeping than hire qualified childcare to ease things, so someone cleans the house once a week, and that's our expendable income spent. It seemed wrong to hire a nanny so I can clean the house uninterrupted. Morally, I feel it's better to be available to my son and hire out the house cleaning. I'm also in school part-time online working toward my master's so I can get a career down the road. My husband's job is very fulfilling to him. He loves what he does, camera operator for pro sports, and his employers pay the costs for him to see and do a lot of really interesting things: visit the Grand Canyon, ride four-wheelers on the beach, eat at nice restaurants, stay in nice hotels. I'll get texts like, Keanu Reeves is in our production truck right now. Stuff like that. I don't do anything really. I'm so strapped to my son. My friends are all parents to special needs kids, so none of us have time for a social life. I have limited places I can take my son because of his behaviors, so I'm almost always just at home. Here's the main problem. When my husband comes home, happy and full of experiences, he wants to spend time with me watching movies or playing video games, hanging out. I appreciate that he's happy to see me and missed me, but all I want to do is hand my son over and sleep, or have the luxury of going to the bathroom with the door closed, or have a good cry. Can't cry in front of my son, he utterly flips out. In short, I want my sense of self back. And I can tell it disappoints my husband that I am basically zero fun, with zero energy, and just wanting to isolate and recharge. It's been almost 5 years since this started, and frankly, I'm a ghost of who I used to be. I understand that he needs to make money for us to survive. I understand the situation is what it is. He didn't choose to travel for work, the travel gigs just pay the most and gig work is precarious, and he needs to take every job he can or crewers will think he's unreliable and take him off their hire lists. And I am very aware how fortunate he is to do a job he loves with coworkers he enjoys being around. But I'm so unhappy. And when he's gone I go into survival mode, making sure I can take good care of my son, get my schoolwork done and keep my grades up, and handle all my responsibilities. When my husband comes home I can't get out of that mode instantly or easily. So he comes home to a very sad, very tired wife who is cleaning poop off the walls while he was eating surf and turf at Ruth's Chris. And while I know he wishes things were easier for me, he has no real idea what my life is like. The longest he's ever cared for our son alone was 1 week 2 years ago, when I went on a cruise with my adult daughter. We'd saved for a long time so I could do that. But that's it. Out of 8 years of having our son, I don't know what to do. I feel like we live almost opposite lives, and there's this huge chasm between us. He'll call me to tell me he's going hiking in the mountains, and I'll call him to tell him our son bit his own hand so hard at school. They had to massage his jaws to get him to let go. Is there any hope of us connecting as a couple again? I don't know how to do it. Info edit: my son has medical orders for every service under the sun. Unfortunately, there's a severe shortage of professionals here. He's only getting a third of his hours with a BHD, para, wraparound, because he has to share with another kid. No home and community hours either, no one to fill them. Y'all's advice is sound and awesome. I'll be having a talk with my husband, and I'll be going to a hotel next week on my own to unwind. You sound like you're burning out. I think you need to tell your husband, but also can you look into respite care for a bit? You very much sound like you need a break. A week off, probably with your husband to reconnect as well. Have you told him all of this, and what needs to change? He'd have hell of a time doing childcare 50% of the time, and his passion job in a divorce situation. Finding a solution is difficult. This is just a genuinely tough situation, but empathy should be easy. If you have trouble talking to your husband about it, maybe consider showing him this post. I can totally appreciate that the mom guilt is real, but please consider that sometimes we need to put on our own oxygen mask first. If the mental break of getting a nanny instead of a cleaner would help you, forget the morality of it. It's not immoral to need a break or a nanny. You are burnt out. You need respite care. Apply for all assistance you can for caregivers. You deserve a break and to have your own interests and life away from your mom role. I wish you well. I hope your husband realizes that he's being selfish here. He should get a job closer to home if you are spread this thin. Bottom line, you need support and help, regardless what the cost is. You can't keep running on empty, or you'll end up collapsing. Although your husband is away working, it doesn't mean his role is obsolete for the duration. Next time he's home, talk to him about your needs to maintain your mental health for your sake and son's. From your post, he seems a bit oblivious to the realities you face daily. Time to open up and share this. His job seems inappropriate for this situation. Is it fun? I'm sure it is. Being gone for weeks and letting one parent shoulder a challenging parental burden isn't right. I'm sure there is a better compromise.